Hey, well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on your time zone. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the Q&A window at the top of your Teams toolbar. We used to put our questions in chat, but chat's getting a little cluttered with transcripts. So any questions, please put them in Q&A. Okay, my name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager at C&K Systems and your hostess for Training Bytes, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. Also joining me is Marty Katz, who's my sound check person, and also a project lead here at C&K Systems, and he's here to answer any higher level questions you may have. So I've noticed when I'm working with people, maybe there's 10 people that work at a store, and everyone's a system administrator. And if everyone at your organization is a system administrator, they can do anything they want in Counterpoint, change settings, add items, delete items, anything they want. Also, I've noticed that when some people run reports, they have to go to several different modules to find the reports they want to run. Maybe I like a receiving report, a couple of sales reports, and I have to go to a lot of places and click a lot. I think it's very important that everyone in your organization is not a system administrator and that we segment our staff and limit what parts of Counterpoint they can access as part of a security. And when it comes to reporting or daily things that you do in Counterpoint, we can actually corral all those activities under one button. So you don't have to click in 6 or 7 different places. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Menu codes. Menu codes are a way to limit or expand permissions, to remove or add functionality. With menu codes, you can create custom buttons, corralling all those reports under one place. You don't have to click in a lot of different places. And you can also link Counterpoint to external programs like Word or Excel and more. So here's some basic rules and relationships. A menu code represents a group of people, typically. It can represent one person, but typically it's a group. I have a system administrator, I have a manager, I have a couple of assistant managers, lots of point of sale people. Menu codes are tied to system security codes. System security codes are tied to individual user records. If you need to make a new menu code, you must have a corresponding system security code to attach to the user. And if that group of people, if they're going to work in point of sale, not only will you need a system security code, you will need a point of sale security code as well. And we'll take a look at all of that in the software. So kind of just an overview. If you go to set up system menu codes, go into the lookup. Here in my install, I only have 4 groups. I have a buyer group, manager, POS sysadmin. You may have more, you may have less. Then if I go to set up system security codes, you'll notice here, my system security code is called sysadmin, and it's tied to my menu, sysadmin. So I try and keep those naming conventions identical, just so it's easier to keep track of. If I browse to set up system users and I find a user record, so here I have Gina, and I look down here at the bottom, the system security code Gina is tied to is sysadmin, meaning she's also tied to the sysadmin menu code. So back to set up system menu codes. Once you're in menu codes and you select a group, you come to this split screen. You have a default menu. This is everything that came with the Counterpoint install. And then you have a custom menu. This is the custom menu for the group that I just logged into. And they have a little bit more than the default menu because of custom buttons. If you need to remove something from a menu, it's as simple as right-clicking and deleting, or highlighting a folder or an item and just pressing the delete key on your keyboard. If you need to add something to the custom menu, you can go to the default menu right here, I wanted to maybe add inventory. So if I hold down my left click on top of this folder and I slide my mouse to the left, you can see this little folder traveling over here. And then you're going to drop it in the custom menu here, not the word up here, custom menu, but the folder. And then you can always change its position later because it'll drop it to the bottom of the tree. If you want to rename a button because the way the button is named doesn't make sense, you can highlight the button or the item, the folder or the item, and you can come over here to the menu caption and just change the name. And we'll see an example of that later. If you want to create a new button, it's very simple. You're highlighted on your custom menu and you come down here to the bottom and click on new. Then you can select folder. You'll get a folder that you'll be able to name. You can name it whatever you like. Then if I want to link an external program, so you'll see here on this slide, I have a folder called Excel, so that'll be a button on my Launchpad. And then I have a menu item called Excel, which will be a button inside that folder. And I've linked it to an external program to Microsoft Office. Okay, so let's just go in the software and take a look. Okay, so we have menu codes that tie to security codes tie to individual users, and if that group or that menu code are going to ring sales, they'll also need a point of sale security code. So let's just take a look at some menu codes right now. Now I have them here in my favorites, but the actual path is setup, system, menu codes, or if you don't remember that, you can always come up to this handy search up here, just type menu codes. There it is right there. So when I go into this lookup, I have buyer, manager, POS, sysadmin. So let's do a compare and contrast. I'll select sysadmin first. Then I'm just going to click menu editor. So again, you can see my default menu. This is what came with the Counterpoint install, is very, very identical to my custom menu, meaning anyone that belongs to this menu code can do anything they want in Counterpoint. Now let's compare that to another group or another menu code. Let's go to POS. So here's POS. So you can see the default menu, again, what came with Counterpoint, very different from the custom menu. So when anyone that belongs to this group logs into Counterpoint, this is all they see, and I'm going to show you that. So I want you to notice when I go to my main menu, see how many buttons I have here on my Launchpad? Because I'm a system administrator, you can see that up here. So I'm just going to exit Counterpoint, and I'm going to sign in as a POS user. Okay, so my name is POS1, very sad name. I hope you have better names than POS1. And yes, I want to clock in. So now that I'm signed in as a member of the POS menu code, you can see I have very limited access. So if my manager were to come to me and say, I need you to do some purchasing or some receiving, I can't. It's not here. I can get into system. I can get into views. I can get into sales history and reports. I can get into point of sale, but I can't do purchasing and receiving or transfers. Can't even look at inventory items. I just don't have access to that part of the program. Oh, let me just launch Counterpoint again. And this time I'll sign back in as a system administrator. And we'll go back to menu codes. And I'm going to go look at my POS menu code again. So if I decided that maybe I want my POS group to do some purchasing, I could actually come over to the default menu, grab the purchasing folder. I'm just going to hold down my left click. I'm going to slide my mouse and I'm going to slide it up here to the word custom menu. Now, I can't just drop this anywhere. Notice how there's a circle with a slash through it. So I just can't drop it here in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to come up here to custom menu. And now I have purchasing. And maybe I want that button to be a little bit higher. So if I hold down, highlight the folder, Control and up arrow. Now let's say there are things within the purchasing menu that I don't want this group to do. So if I open up the folder, maybe I don't want them doing any receiving. So I'm just going to highlight that folder. I can either right click and delete, or I can just press the delete key on my keyboard. And I don't want them doing adjustments or quick receivings or return to vendors, or views or reports or utilities. Or even within the folder. I want my POS people to be able to create a purchase request, but I don't want them to post it because I want to review their work before the document gets posted. So if I come into the purchase request folder and I remove the item post purchase request, then this group can create a purchase request. They can save a purchase request. They just can't finalize it. I come down here to sales history and reports. And this group has access to maybe a lot of reports I really don't want them to have access to. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these. They don't need this or this. I'm just pressing my delete key. You can't bulk delete, by the way. You can only delete them one at a time. And maybe I just want them to have access to one report. So I'm going to go over here to my default menu. I'm going to go to sales history, reports, and I want them to have the sales analysis by group report. So I'm just going to find it here. Sales analysis by group. Again, I'm going to hold down my left click, slide my mouse until I get over here to the reports folder. And there it is. So with a menu code, you can take away or add folders. You can take away or add items. Here's another thing you can do with a menu code. You can change the names of the buttons. So for example, if I go to inventory and adjustments, my inventory adjustment center is this button. I'm just going to make it a favorite. Let's go to purchasing and purchase request. I'm going to make this a favorite. And let's go to receiving. I'm going to make this a favorite. But the buttons are all just called enter. Enter, enter, enter. I have no idea what they are unless I actually open up one of the buttons. So I can see this is Inventory Adjustment Center. So if I want this to make more sense for this group, I can go into the menu codes and change the name of the buttons. So I'm going to go to Setup, System, Menu Codes. I'm going to find my sysadmin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the inventory folder. I'm going to open up the adjustment folder, and I'm going to click on the word enter. Now, again, not very helpful. So on the left here, you can see a form caption. This form is actually called Inventory Adjustment Center. So I'm just going to highlight it. I'm going to right click and copy, or you can do Control C. I'm going to come down to the menu caption, and I can either right click and paste, or I can do Control V. V as in victory. So I'm going to do the same thing for purchase request. I'm going to come to the purchasing folder. I'm going to open up purchase request, enter. I'm going to come up here to the form caption. I'm going to copy it, Control C, come down here to the menu caption, Control V as in victory, and do the same thing for receiving. Copy and paste, Control V. Okay, and then I'm going to close. When you close out of a menu code, Counterpoint will prompt you to save. So of course you're going to say yes. And then you need to save again, but let's say you forget and you just click on this X. Counterpoint's going to prompt you to save. Okay, now my buttons down here that used to just say enter, enter, enter are much more intuitive. Inventory Adjustment Center, Purchasing Request Enter. If you rename a button for one menu code, it does not rename buttons for other menu codes. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go back to Setup System Menu Codes. And I'm going to find my buyer. I have a buyer group in here. I'm going to open up Purchasing and Purchase Request. And this one's already been renamed, but it used to just say Enter. And just by me changing the sysadmin did not change this one. I think I have another one in here too. Let's go see. Oh, we gave one to POS. Let's see what POS has. Okay, so Purchasing, Purchase Request, and it says Purchase Request Enter. Maybe it's because I dragged it over later. Something else you can do with a menu code, this is quite handy. I'm going to log into Point of Sale. So anytime you go into Point of Sale, Purchase Request Enter, Receiving Center, Transfer Enter, Adjustment Center, if you look to the very upper right of the screen, most of those screens are going to have an X, a box, and a dash. The dash meaning that I can minimize point of sale. Maybe you don't want your people minimizing point of sale. Maybe they're supposed to close out of point of sale when they walk away from the register and you want to force it. So no matter where you are in Counterpoint, if you see this dash here, you can make it go away with a menu code. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to go to Setup System Menu Codes. And again, I'm going to stay with sysadmin since I'm logged in as sysadmin. I'll click on my menu editor. I'm going to open up Point of Sale. I'm going to open up Tickets, touchscreen. Now, down here on the left, it says Presentation Non-Modal. That means put a dash at the upper right. So if I change this drop down to modal, it means take away the dash. So I'm just going to close, save my changes, save again. I'm going to log back into Point of Sale. So if you look at the upper right, see how the dash is gone? So this screen cannot be minimized by anyone that belongs to the sysadmin group. And again, just because you change it for sysadmin doesn't change it for everyone else. Now let's say, let's talk about reports. So I run several reports every day. They're in different modules in Counterpoint, and I want to save myself a little time clicking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to menu codes. I'm going to find the sysadmin menu code. I'm going to come up here to the custom menu, and I'm going to create a new button. Now, these are folders here. They're actually buttons on your launch pad. So I'm going to go to new folder. Here's my folder here. I'm going to come here to the menu caption. I'm going to call it daily reports. And so every day when I come in, I like running a receiving report. So I'm going to go over here to my default menu and I'm going to open up purchasing. And I'm going to open up reports, some history reports. And I'm going to drag over my receiving history. So I'm just holding down my left click. Then I like to run some sales reports. I'm going to come here to sales history and reports. And I like sales analysis by group. It's one of my favorites. Hold down my left click, drag it over. Maybe a couple loss prevention reports too, like return tickets. So I can keep an eye on my returns. And also my void tickets. So I can keep an eye on voids. So now I've created a custom button on my Launchpad that's going to take me to these reports. One stop. So I'm going to close out of here so you can see. And save. So now if you look on my Launchpad, Daily Reports is a new button. And when I click on daily reports, here's my receiving history, sales, return, and void report. You can also link Counterpoint buttons or make a Counterpoint button link to an external program. So again, using my system administrator, my menu code for system admin, I'm going to go to menu editor. I'm going to click on my custom menu. I'm going to go to new folder, but I'm going to call this folder Office. This is where I want to link a menu item to maybe Excel or Word or even Outlook. So I'm going to click on Office here. Then I'm going to go to new menu item, and I want this to be Excel. And so you get this box with a big X in it because Counterpoint says, well, I don't know what you want to do with this. But if you look over to the left, your command type should be external program, meaning I'm going to go outside of Counterpoint for this. And then under that, your command. So this little box here, see there's 3 little dots. I'm just going to click on that. Now you have to know where the executable is, and I'll show you a clever way to find that out. So I happen to know mine is on my C drive. It's in program files, and yours may or may not be there. And then I'm going to go to Microsoft Office, and then root, and then Office 16. And here's everything Microsoft Office. Now I'm going to make my life a little easier. I could arrange this list by name or date modified, but I find it helpful to arrange it by type. That way, all your applications, your executables, will all be grouped together. So here's Excel. I'll click on that. See how it changed? Now it looks like an Excel icon. So I'm going to add another one. So I'm going to click on Office, New, Menu Item, and I'm going to call this Word. And again, I'm going to browse, make sure the command type is external. The command, just going to browse again. It's kind of a long way to go. Lots of clicking. Again, I'm arranged by file type. So I can just go down to the applications. And if you do want to link to Word, it's actually called WinWord. I have Office 365, that might make a difference. And again, it looks like a Word graphic. Now you won't see this same graphic in Counterpoint. You'll just see it here in the menu codes. So I'm going to close. And I'm going to save. So if you look at my Launchpad, Office is now here at the bottom of my Launchpad. So when I click on Office, here's Excel. And again, it doesn't look like the Microsoft icon. It's just a Counterpoint box. But you can see I can launch the application. And the same with Word. It doesn't have the Microsoft logo on it. But when I open it, it's definitely Microsoft Word. Something else that you can do with menu codes is kind of along the reporting vein. So let's say I like my point of sale people every morning to come in and run an item sales report. Out of the box, this is what they'd have to do. They'd have to go to sales history and reports, sales analysis by group, then they'd have to come down to options, load parameters, find the sales by item, click on load and run the report. That's a lot of clicking. You can actually take away a lot of those steps by taking this parameter here, and attaching it to a menu code. So I'm going to close out of here. And I'm just going to go back to my menu codes. And this time I'm going to go for my POS people. So I want my POS people to run a sales by item report, but I don't want to have to go all through all those steps. So here in sales history, I do have reports and I have sales analysis by group. But then once they get here, it's options load parameters. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rename this report. I'm going to call it item sales. And then I'm going to come down here. See at the bottom here under settings where it says report parameters? I'm going to select the parameter sales by item and close. And now I'm going to log out of Counterpoint and log back in as point of sale, just so you can see. It's nice and handy. So again, I'm going to be my POS person. Okay, so you can see it's in my recently used, but let's pretend it's not there. So I go to sales history, reports, item sales, no loading parameters. I just click on the report. And as soon as I do, it loads very fast. Ignore that. So you can see it automatically loaded the sales by item report. I'm going to log back in as sysadmin. See, even I put in my password incorrectly. It's not just you, happens to me too. Now, earlier I said menu codes linked to security codes linked to users. So I'm going to take a look at that. So if I go to menu codes, again, here's my groups. Now, if I go to security codes, and the actual path for this is setup, system, security codes. These are like global security codes outside of point of sale. I'm going to find my sysadmin. There it is. And you can see it's linked to the sysadmin menu code. And then if I go to a user record, I'm just going to find myself. You can see my user record is linked to the security code sysadmin, which links back to the menu code. And because I ring sales up here under point of sale, I also have a point of sale security code. And typically I have those match the system security codes. I don't have to, but that's typically what I do. But let's say you need to make a new menu code. You're hiring a new group of people and they're going to be like a second key, you know, something under a manager, but not quite a manager. So we're going to have to make a menu code, a system security code, and because they'll be ringing sales since they're like an assistant manager, we'll also need a point of sale security code. So I'm going to come here to menu codes, and I'm just going to type second key. I'm just free typing. You know, if I go into the lookup, that's what I already have, so that doesn't help. I'm going to press my enter key. I can copy from an existing menu code just to make life a little bit easier. But if I don't, I type second type instead of second key. Let's cancel without saving. Let's try that again. Second key. There we go. And I'm just going to type it again. So if I just go straight to the menu editor without copying from another group, this new menu code is going to have everything. So then I'm just going to strip out what I don't need. I don't need this. They don't need to see inventory. Maybe they want to go into customers. They don't need to see purchasing or sales history. They don't need e-commerce. Maybe they need to go into time cards. But you know, within time cards, they don't need to make time card corrections or run any reports or export or purge. They don't need data interchange. I'm going to get rid of that. They don't need system and they don't need setup. So basically, this assistant manager can ring sales and they can create customers and look at customers and clock in and clock out. Now I need a corresponding security code. So I'm going to come here to security codes. And again, it's not going to be in my lookup because I haven't created it yet. So I'm just going to type second key. Now I'm going to copy from another group. So I'm just going to copy from my manager group. And then I can just uncheck what I don't want this group to do as far as activities outside of point of sale. So by and large, you'd probably uncheck most of these for this group. Now I need a corresponding point of sale security code. So I'm going to come here to point of sale security codes. And again, it's not here yet, so the lookup isn't going to help me. Just type second key. And I'm going to copy from the manager. Now these security switches are things that happen inside of point of sale. So system security code, stuff outside of point of sale, most people don't need that. Point of sale security codes, what goes on inside of point of sale. So I'm going to type second key here. And then, maybe I don't want my second keys voiding completed documents, or I don't want them doing discounting. I can just uncheck what I don't want them to do. Maybe I want a manager to do those types of activities. So now I need to associate the security code and the point of sale security code with a user. So I'm going to go to users. I'm just going to make a new user. My new user is Bonnie. I'm going to press my enter key. And then I'm going to just copy from an existing user because it just saves a lot of time. So I'll just copy from, let's say, my POS person. And it's Bonnie Smith is the name. So down here, the security code is not going to be POS. I copied from somebody that had this security code. So I'm just going to go into this lookup and I'm going to choose second key. Then over on the right, I'm going to mimic the point of sale security code. So it's specific to that group. Then I'm going to save. And you may or may not get that pop-up. Something that's very important, and I see this a lot, there's one system administrator in a company, and that system administrator is the only person that has access to user records. So this is what happens in real life. Sysadmin person's off on the weekend. Somebody tries to log into Counterpoint, maybe my friend Shirley or Wendy. If you don't get your password right after 6 times, you get locked out. You don't get locked out for 30 minutes, you get permanently locked out. So you need somebody that has access to users to unlock the account so you can continue on with your day. So I'll show you what happens on the user record. Let's find Bonnie here. If Bonnie makes 6 attempts to put in her password and doesn't get it right after 6 times, Counterpoint's going to do this. It's going to check login disabled. And this will remain disabled until somebody comes to Bonnie's user record and unchecks it. And probably has to reset the password as well. So you want to make sure that when system administrator person is off duty, there's a backup, somebody else that can unlock a user record. So maybe I have a buyer. My buyer likes to work weekends. So I'm going to go into my buyer menu code. So I'm going to come here to menu codes. I'm going to find buyer. Could be manager, could be assistant manager. Just make sure someone has access. So what they need access to is setup, system, users. All right, now I'm not bringing this whole folder over here because these are like configuration settings. I just want the user record. So I'm going to make a button and it's just going to be called Unlock Account. Oh, it's going to be called Unlock Account. And then over in the default menu, under Setup System, I'm going to find Users. I'm just going to drag it over here. So now anyone that belongs to the buyer's menu code will have the ability to unlock a locked user account. Save you a call to support, right? Okay, so that is menu codes. Let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to minimize this. And we'll go from here. All right, so hopefully your takeaway from this session is that you understand what a menu code is, first of all, and that it relates to system security codes, how to limit or how to access or expand or limit counterpoint activities, how to create custom buttons, and also how to link buttons to external programs. When you get the link to your recording on Friday, it'll also have a survey attached. I really appreciate your feedback and your topic suggestions. If you want to fill out the survey today, www.cksystem.com/training bytes survey. It's a very quick and easy survey. You can certainly remain anonymous. If you want to get custom training tailored to your business, tailored to your database, instead of my golf database, give me a call, main number extension 3, or email me, training@cksystem.com. Happy to set up customized training with your data, which makes so much more sense. Next month, April 5th, we're going to talk about views and inventory detail. So leveraging views, a lot of times people say, they start the statement off, what report do I run? Sometimes it's not always about a report. Sometimes it's just a view. Sometimes it's a lookup. Sometimes it's knowing how to modify a filter. I'm going to cover all of that. And I'm also going to show you ticket history and receiving views. These are views that you can see about your posted sales, posted receivings without running a report. And then inventory detail. This is something that not a lot of people use, but if you go under inventory and views, there's something called inventory detail. This is a very cool view, especially if you have gridded items. Because when you go into inventory items and you look at a gridded item, it's a few mouse clicks to see members of that style, red, white, blue, small, medium, large. An inventory detail will break apart your item styles at the color size level and give you so much more information. So we'll look at that as well. Don't forget to join me April 5th, 10 and 1. Something that's brand new that we're launching this year in 2023 is something called the C&K Quarterly. So this is not training bytes. This is information about C&K product offerings, things that you might be interested in, like our new Excel reporter, which is, everyone knows how to, well, I would hope, you know how to export reports from Counterpoint to Excel. And you probably notice that sometimes it's super messy. With the Excel reporter, nice and clean. It's beautiful. Also learn about Sophos firewalls. And we're having a sale on those this month. Antivirus backups. Do you really want to manage your own antivirus and your own backups? Let us do it for you. We'll also talk about NCR news, NCR the manufacturer, something you might want to know about SQL Server 2019, and reduced credit card fees for NCR Secure Pay. Hey, how does 2 cents a transaction sound? Pretty good. Also industry news. You may have noticed of late, because this is something that's fairly new, when you go into stores that accept credit cards, you may see a sign posted about minimum credit card fees or surcharges. So we'll learn about that during the session. So mark your calendars, March 29th, one session only, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So be on the lookout in your inbox. So you can sign up and ask questions. By the way, I'm not the only one that facilitates this. I'll be on the call. Marty will be on the call. Dennis LaValle, the Vice President of Sales, will be on the call. And so will Ed Schulte, who's one of our in-house developers. So it'll be a really interesting session. Okay, and with that, I will take questions. Okay, so nothing in chat, which I'd asked you not to put anything in chat. So that's a very good way to follow instructions. And Q&A. Okay, and I don't see anything in Q&A. Does anyone have a question? Okay, well, I appreciate your time as always. Come see me on March 29th. Well, me and Marty and Dennis and Ed. And then again, hopefully April 5th for the next Training Bytes session. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon.